Hey guys, welcome back to the range on a beautiful pre-spring day, just barely pre-spring. Spring will be joining us in just a week or two. But it is a nice day and I'm going to try to get some work done. Never mind the popcorn machine going on over there. That's just some department doing some training. So just very recently I told you about the new Hellcat Pro from Springfield Armory, and it seemed to me that a pretty obvious head-to-head would be against the P365 XL from SIG Sauer, and I know some of you agreed with me in the comments. Well, I promised you at the time that that would be coming, and here it is. I figured, why wait? So for starters, I'm just going to put a bunch of rounds through both of these guns at that Optics Planet target downrange, which is 12 yards away. I'm going to pick one for the top and one for the bottom and just stay consistently with that. Have you ever had one of these days at the range? So last night when I packed up all my gear and packed up my range bag with these two pistols, you know, I verified that the optics were working good and everything looked fine. And so I get to the range today and there's no dot. In the Romeo Zero, which is the native optic on the XL. So I would presume that sometime overnight the battery died. And then, again, this is one of those days at the range stories. I have plenty of batteries. I'm not a complete idiot, right? I have things that need batteries. I carry spare batteries. I have batteries in my range bag. I have tools in my range bag. But oddly, very, very, very oddly, the two screws seem to have different size tool requirements. I have no idea why. I have one that fits one of the screws, but I have nothing that fits the other screw. So I'm screwed, basically. So I'm going to, luckily now see, here's a sort of a making lemonade out of lemons for you. Luckily, the Romeo Zero does allow you to co-witness with the front sight because it's got this nice little notch in the back. Even though the rear sight is removed when you take off the plate, there is a little notch that gives you a new rear sight. So I am able to co-witness, so I'm going to shoot it just like that, because that is, to me, a perfect example of why any carry gun that you're going to put an optic on should be able to co-witness. That's super important because you never know when or how that optic might quit working. The Hellcat Pro is, of course, it's pretty new, and the Hex Wasp that's on it is working just fine. So it has a dot, and actually you can't turn these off. They're sort of automatic on, right? I'm not going to remove it. I'm just going to leave it on, but I'll probably, because you can co-witness also with this, and I love the U-dot sight picture anyway, so I'll probably use the open sights more than the dot on this. But so just so you know, that's number one, that's the kind of day I'm having. And number two, there might be a little bit of an advantage with the Hellcat Pro because I do have a red dot where I don't have it on the SIG. And who knows? I may shoot the SIG better because I don't have the red dot distracting me. You never know. But I'm going to start out with the SIG. And I'm going to give it top billing and top target. The ammo I'm shooting is Remington UMC 115 grain ball. Just generic so-so range stuff. And here we go. Okay, switching over now to the Hellcat Pro, and I'm going to probably alternate back and forth, going to the lower of those two targets. Okay, there's those. Now I was pretty much just using the open sights. The red dot was there and I could see it, but I was really going by my open sight picture. Okay, back to the SIG. And the SIG, as soon as I pick it up, you know, my first thought is, wow, this thing is tiny. It is much smaller in the hand than the Hellcat is. Well, much smaller is probably an exaggeration, but it is smaller. You can feel the difference. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. And oh, by the way, just a caveat, I really like both of these guns quite a bit. And so I really don't have any bias. I mean, I might, I'm human, and I may have some bias that I'm not really that conscious of, but I don't feel like I have any particular preference between these two guns. So I'm going to try to keep everything pretty antiseptic as far as comparison and just give you information. And if I'm telling you something that's an opinion, and that is the name of the channel after all, I'll try to qualify that opinion and tell you why I have it. All right, back up top with the SIG, which is the tiny one. All right, well, it looks like we're starting to find a consistent pattern there. Let's see how we do with the Hellcat Pro. Now, another thing when I pick them up and hold them, the Hellcat Pro is a little larger in the palm of my hand, but it's longer, and so it feels like a fuller gun in my hand. All my fingers have a place to rest. They both have really nice triggers. I don't know if I could choose better. They're two different style triggers. Okay, back to the P365. XL for extra large. And just for fun, I'll do these last two magazines one hand. They are self-defense guns, and you should always practice your one-hand shooting. Wow. And that's why you should always practice your one-hand shooting. All right, so got a little wild with that first one, but again, that's why you should practice them. Hellcat Pro. Strong hand only. I feel like the recoil managed a little better with the Hellcat. It's very marginal. Uh-oh. And one that didn't want to feed. But let me say this. I was out here yesterday filming my range work for another gun, the Shadow Systems. And I was shooting this same ammo, and I had multiple failures to feed. So, you know, at first I wasn't sure if it was the break-in for that new gun or if it was the ammo, and then I finally, during that range work, I finally kind of concluded, if you want to jump in your Wayback Machine and go watch that video, which may or may not be available yet, I kind of concluded that it must be the ammo. And I think I'm seeing evidence to support that theory. So, Remington UMC, I don't know. The UMC stands for Use Most Cautiously. Oh, I was supposed to be one hand, wasn't I? See, made me forget. There we go. All right, a couple more mags in each gun of the Remington UMC, and that will be 100 rounds, 50 rounds with each. And then I'll have that target to look at. So instead of doing a rested bench accuracy and all that, we'll have a 50 round group from each gun to look at, which kind of just represents my general shooting. All right, there you go. There you go what? Don't know. Okay, Hellcat. The Hellcat has a squarer feeling grip. I think the trigger's maybe a little heavier. And it may have a longer pull. I'll take a closer look at that in a controlled environment. But you can see that I have not just my full grip, but I still have a little bit of spare real estate down there at the bottom. P365 XL does have a rubber Talon on it, as is my custom. And I'm even wearing my Talon shirt today. I did shine the bat light up in the sky to the folks at Talon. I said, hey, as soon as you have a grip for the Hellcat Pro, send me one. So I should see one of those fairly soon. And I will put that on. So I do like the feel of the Talon rubber grip. Even though the texture on both natural grips is good, just not as good as the rubber. Ergonomics of both guns are very good. They feel slightly different, of course. They are different guns from different manufacturers, but they are both very good ergonomically. Hellcat Pro definitely has a heavier trigger. There's no doubt about it. Okay, as promised, a quick look at the trigger pull on each of these. Starting with the SIG P365 XL and 513. And the Hellcat. £5, 15 ounces, so just under 6 pounds. And that really kind of corresponds a little bit with what I feel when I shoot them. I can feel that the Hellcat's trigger is a little heavier, but it's very crisp and very smooth, so it doesn't feel as different as what that gauge indicates, if that makes any sense to you. You can also see that I have a Talon grip now on the Hellcat Pro, so Talon did come through with that grip, and they are now available. And don't forget, if you buy anything from Talon, make sure you use my discount code. It will save you money. It's Justin O, or Justino, depending on how I'm dressed. And nothing comes back to me, but it does save you money, so I would definitely urge you to use that. All right, the only other thing to look at real quick is this target, and that is, you saw it at the range. Other than one being slightly, ever so slightly, to the right, and the other one being slightly to the left, I'm going to call it a draw. I'm not even going to measure those. That's 50 rounds from each gun, and pretty consistent and pretty close. So I shoot them both, I would say, pretty evenly.